Welcome to the late review of Resident Evil Revelations 2. Resident Evil Revelations 2 is a story about Claire Redfield and Moira Burton, Barry Burton's daughter from the first Resident Evil. Now, the two of them have joined a new organization called TerraSave. It's an anti-bioterrorism group. And they're kidnapped while at some TerraSave event, and the two of them are trapped on an island. Now, on this island, standard Resident Evil shit happens. And if you don't know what that means, it means there's somebody evil fucking around with some kind of dangerous virus that creates mutants and monsters, and all sorts of horrible shit will occur. Now, you also play as Barry Burton and a young girl named Natalia. Barry finds Natalia on the island when he's there trying to investigate why his daughter was kidnapped and what happened to her on the island. The same thing happens to them that happened to Claire and Moira. Standard Resident Evil shit. They meet people fucking around with the virus, and obviously monsters are created. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's an interesting story. It's not mind-blowing. It's pretty standard Resident Evil, as I said. For the most part, the voiceover is passable. It's not mind-shattering, and it doesn't really help sell the story all the time. They don't necessarily sound as concerned as they should, but for the most part, it's passable. Which, there's worse. Resident Evil has had far worse. Now, for the controls and gameplay, the controls are back to that third-person over-the-shoulder shooter style that Resident Evil has moved to. A lot of people don't like it. I personally enjoy it, because if you go back and play the old Resident Evils, that control scheme just doesn't hold up, in my opinion. Revelations 2 doesn't do it as well as Revelations 1 did, let alone Resident Evil 6. So that is kind of a drawback. The shooting mechanics are, for the most part, very good. It's the movement. The movement is where it fails. The dodge just tends to let you down, and you feel like you're steering a boat while you're running rather than a human being. So it makes it kind of hard to get around when you're trying to rush around at times. But overall, it's not detrimental to the game. It doesn't destroy it. Now, what is more detrimental to the game is, of course, the Resident Evil AI. It's crap. It will always be crap, apparently, because Capcom can't make a good AI. If I had a wall to bang my head against right now, I'd bang my head against it to give you an example of what dealing with Resident Evil AI is like. When you're playing as Claire and Moira, you can switch between the two characters as much as you want. Same goes for when you're playing as Barry and Natalia, but Moira and Natalia are non-combatants. I mean, Moira has a crowbar, and she can whack stuff with it, but it's not necessarily as deadly as, a gun, which in this situation could be useful. They try to explain it away with some past trauma in Moira's life, but in that kind of situation, I don't give a shit what happened in your past. You pick up a fucking gun to try and survive. Let's just call it what it is. It's bullshit. Now, in Natalia's case, it makes a lot more sense because she's a child fighting adult-sized monsters or larger. And she's about 3 feet tall. I would say Natalia is more useful than Moira because Natalia can spot enemies through walls. She's got a magical gift. Oh, they kind of go into it, but I don't want to spoil anything. It would spoil some plot points, I think. Like I said earlier, the AI is crap. They get stuck. And they get stuck in the stupidest things that if it was a decent AI, it would sort out how to walk around. But they can't figure that shit out for whatever reason. So you have to switch characters, get them unstuck, and go to wherever the fuck you need to go. It's a pain in the ass. Is it as bad as Sheva from Resident Evil 5? No. Is it good? No. Capcom, get your shit together, please. Because let's face it, we don't need co-op. Or if you're going to give us co-op, make it optional. Don't force an AI that sucks ass on us. The graphics, they were kind of disappointing. I was playing on the Xbox One. Is it as powerful as a top-tier gaming PC? No. But I do expect much better than what this game delivered, especially from Capcom. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't where it should be, and I'm not sure if that was due to maybe limitations because the whole episodic content thing. I'm just not sure. But they could have been better. They're not the worst you're going to see, but they're far from being the best you're going to see. Resident Evil Revelations 2 has a raid mode as well, just like in Resident Evil Revelations 1, and it adds a bit of replayability, but if you played the raid mode of Revelations 1 to death, this isn't going to be a whole lot of new for you. Not to say it's bad, it's fun, and you can co-op in it, which is an added bonus. Plus there's leaderboards to compete with and all that jazz. There's a hub world where you can switch characters and change your guns, add parts, swap them out, level up your character, etc., etc. They added skills, and they're a little different than the skills from Revelations 1, but it's not a huge game changer. I wish it was. It could have been really cool, but it's still a lot of fun. And it's a good way to just kill some time. If you love the game, it's going to add a bit to it, but it's not a selling point. It's an added bonus. At the end of the day, it's a pretty damn good game, in my opinion, but I will say I'm a little biased because I've loved Resident Evil for years, and I've played pretty much every Resident Evil. But for those who aren't big Resident Evil fans or haven't really played Resident Evil before, this is not going to be the game that converts you into a Resident Evil junkie like me. If you're looking for a game like that, go play Resident Evil 4. It's on the 360 marketplace, the PlayStation Network, and Steam, so you can rock that shit and enjoy it. That having been said, I'd say rent Resident Evil Revelations 2, unless you're like me, and then it's definitely a buy, because it's not a bad addition. So tell me what you think about my review, whether you loved it, you hated it, and if you liked it, feel free to like it, or subscribe. I'd like both. Thank you. Have a good one.